Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Build America podcast, the construction industry podcast that is capturing and sharing the heartbeat of people, projects, and purposes. And with us, I think in the purpose category is Tomislav Zigo. He is the CEO of BEXEL USA. Some of you know him from another title for a long time, and we've had him on here with another title, but he is CEO of BEXEL USA. He is right at the intersection of where the tech process meets the built environment. And he is helping owners clarify their project delivery with the help of all kinds of exciting tech tools. Tomislav, welcome today to Build America. We're glad you're here.
Thank you, Carrie. Good to be back.
Yes, been a
Thanks for
minute,
a nice
hasn't it?
intro.
I think that this is an intriguing topic today. I know that you're working intently under your new label with AEC companies and organizations that are just trying to improve their project delivery and trying to make sure that tech is their friend and not the other way around. I chose for the episode today a topic that came from a really intriguing
Mm,
article that you shared called "Can You Claim Innovation Readiness?" And
mm,
I mean, who can do that? Who can back it up? It's a great topic. You've
thank you.
articulated there's a need for construction companies to sort of decouple their innovation process from their long-standing corporate culture and kind of remarry that. And I'd love to hear you talk about that topic.
By all means, happy to talk about it and feel free to challenge me because, some of these things are our findings and, people work all over this industry and everybody has a slightly different perspective. I'm really glad to talk about this topic. It's very dear to me. As you said, I've been in the intersection of all things tech and construction and design industry for, maybe a few years. No, quite some time. And it's been a long and winding path, and we'll learn as we go. One of the things that really sparked that article is being engaged now as a CEO of BEXEL USA. We are engaged with clients across the wide spectrum of companies that are operating in this space, whether you are owner, whether you are a general contractor, specialty contractor, even some engineering teams. One of the buzzwords today, well, one of them, we know which one is the main buzzword today. We're not going to mention it probably a single time during this interview, but innovation is always something that is being put up front, kind of pushed forward in claiming or being a differentiator for companies that are really trying to cater to clients, especially clients in high-tech industry. Innovation is interesting concept. And for a while within BEXEL USA, we've been developing a framework for evaluating one's readiness to innovate. And idea is not ours. We are very influenced by the writing of Jeffrey Moore, who wrote an interesting book called Zone to Win, where he looks at a business as a whole and really recognizes that there are four stages or four zones within which businesses operate: productivity zone, performance zone, incubation, and transformation zone. And as somebody that was always at that intersection, or somebody that was always neck deep in trying to repurpose technology for sake of efficiency and safety and all the quality and all the good stuff that we like to claim in the process of building buildings. This incubation zone is identified as a zone where businesses should try to innovate, but it's easier said than done. And I think it's really important that the coupling, as you mentioned. We are all really, really busy. I mean, you're constantly looking at your bottom line. You are always facing staffing issues, finding a skilled labor, pursuits, clients, different project types. Who has time to innovate? I mean, you're barely keeping your head above water. And innovation, for most part, within large construction companies or anybody that is involved in this process of building built environment, was always kind of ambiguously placed within, well, maybe IT is a center of excellence that innovates. Maybe we have a technology team. Maybe it's our project teams, but it's kind of haphazard.
Right.
It's not structured. It's not properly funded. And one thing that is really important, it doesn't create that safe zone in which you can fail, because failure is a part of the innovation. So basically, we are making a case and we are backing it up by our surveys. And we developed this methodology that examines companies through 48 different characteristics, factors that can tell you whether your performance and productivity zone are ready to support incubation zone within which you can innovate by few very basic things. Do you have people that can influence how this innovation or incubation is being structured? Do you have adequate funding? Do you have processes put in place? And ultimately, did you create that safe zone within which you can accelerate innovation pace, within which you can fail, and then ultimately within which you can decide, well, this is worth pursuing? Because, as many people as you put in a room, you'll have that many ideas. And filtering through those is somewhat challenging. But what we also found interesting in order to create that decoupled zone is we really need to be good listeners because ideas don't happen in a vacuum. And ideas, especially when we talk about innovation, I really like to differentiate that innovation within construction is somewhat ambiguous term. Do we really innovate or are we really skilled in adapting things that other people discover or found or innovated for the purpose of delivering better projects on time, more safely, and on budget? One should ask, if you think of innovation, innovation is something that fundamentally changes our perspectives, fundamentally changes our processes. And we as industry are not really structured to do that. I think we are very creative in repurposing what has been found. We didn't innovate servo mechanisms in robots or processors or CPUs or code that is running them, but we are very skilled in figuring out, like kind of jacks of all trades. We can figure out how to repurpose it, and maybe that's part where we innovate. And I think that's the reason why that zone needs to be created, so we can make more mistakes and be more deliberate.
Construction doesn't have the luxury to innovate, right? As somebody in a lab or somebody that's, high level conceptual basis, they've got to get those projects done.
Absolutely. Pet peeve with software companies, and this is the reason why I'm really so vested in BEXEL USA, because we want to be a different company. But my pet peeve was that jobs move at a certain dynamic. Jobs last between 12, 18, maybe 24 months at best. And on every job, we encounter problems that could benefit from creative solutions. If those that innovate do not innovate at the pace of business, those innovations end up being unnoticed or just being snubbed, and just like we don't have time to fiddle with this. So there needs to be really good alignment. And that's the reason why I believe that if construction companies or any large company that operates in the space can structure that process internally, then the pace could be more aligned with the pace of business, as opposed to waiting for external factors or external players to give us solutions.
Wondered about the parallel or of manufacturing adopting innovation versus construction. It seems like manufacturing's got us beat in spades, but I'm wondering why, because that doesn't seem like an extremely time sensitive environment either.
I would agree. And I think when we say construction, we try to lump many things into one concept. I would say that those that are much closer to what they do, which would be specialty contractors, self-performing contractors, are typically a little bit further ahead because their bottom line really depends on how well they deploy manufacturing principles. Now, we have great clients in that space, and they're really interested in optimizing the fabrication time, their shop time, their feedback. Where if you are just a general contractor, the innovations happens in management space, in people space, and those are two really different concepts. So I would say you can't really say that entire industry is lagging behind. I would say there are gradients of how much we lag behind manufacturing. And then, there's an age-old idea that one thing is to make widgets, the other thing is to make bespoke buildings one after another. Yeah, I get it, but I think we also could introduce a little bit more discipline in what we do. But we are trying. We are trying.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. So you talk about corporate sustaining innovation zone. And I'm not sure I know what that is. I wonder if it plays into culture at all, or if it is that specific to the construction industry, or is that anyone?
Like, I think it's anyone. It's not really anybody that wants to create that safe zone within which you can innovate or incubate ideas needs to be willing to provide funding, provide structure, provide business acumen. And it almost means, all right, let's agree and take our best and brightest, bring some new blood, kind of mix it up, and then govern it. But let's not govern it as a business, govern it as a lab. And those are two very, very different things. I think there's some really good examples in our industry where this was attempted. I think one of the early ones when it comes to construction was the Oracle Innovation Lab, which is more of a showcase. However, intent was great. I think on the engineering and architecture side, you have really interesting outfits like Yazdani Studio from Canon Design that is really their working lab where new design ideas are being incubated and pushed toward delivering bespoke projects around the world. And then recently, I had the pleasure of visiting my colleagues at Hansel Phelps in Phoenix, and I was there at the Diverge Lab, which, it's fair to say probably it's in infancy, but intent is right. And I think it will be interesting to see how fast they can accelerate innovation process in something that it's not only physical artifact, basically physical place where they innovate, but also structure it as a separate business unit whose goal is to really focus on innovation. I think that's a move in the right direction. And to me, any company of a similar size should find means and methods to start something like that.
And it seems like you have the right talent. You have a separate team of people that aren't being pushed to
Correct.
design out the door.
And one of the things that I always enjoyed doing was visiting and being at the construction sites, working with people. They work 12-hour shifts. They are neck deep in the problems. They're solving things that are coming from all directions. They have ideas, but they don't have time to really develop those ideas, structure them, fund them, and getting help getting those things out. So I think attempts like the one from Hansel Phelps and Verge are very good indicators that industry is finally taking this idea of innovation in a safe zone a bit further.
I'm so glad to hear you say about safe spaces to fail, because those of us that have been entrepreneurs in other industries know with our business plans and our expertise, we don't ever want to launch until we want someone to beat us up and tell us that's a bad idea because you only have the funding to do it once.
You need feedback. Operating this space without meaningful feedback and structure is very dangerous. And I've seen numerous examples where somewhat half-baked ideas managed to get out there and really set companies back by several years because they were not properly vetted.
Wow. How do we make sure that innovation is practical enough? We talked about the innovation labs and the best ideas rising to the top. How do we make sure that it's practical enough to be adopted by those that are actually going to use it versus wonderful concept?
This is where I think, at least from our perspective, listening to the client and understanding the client or companies we are working with comes into focus. Not everybody is ready. The process of digital transformation that started 10 years ago or longer when everybody was talking about it is still well underway. And I don't think it's over. I think it's very important to, as I said, listen, be present, and have the composition of right people that will tackle those initiatives. But innovation or incubation is only a first part. The most critical part is once when you settle on an idea. How do you make those ideas come true? How do you transform an organization and set that organization on the adoption path of a new idea that will ultimately transform their business and make those, again, those productivity and performance zones operate at a higher level? It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy of, hey, If we do this right in incubation zone, if we find a good idea, then we can keep funding and growing. Ultimately, everybody wants to grow these days. People are growing just because there's so much work. While to tackle so much work, we need to fundamentally change the ways we go about our business. Innovation is not necessarily robots or AI. I said that acronym. There you go.
Yeah, we got to it.
Innovation is also investing in people, managing your knowledge, repurposing resources. And one thing that we learned very early on, being able to kill it quickly. If idea is bad,
Yeah.
don't let it noodle for years at a time, drain the resources, and then you know how people move. You end up having something that is half baked that cannot be used. Another thing that we are encouraging our clients is that we've seen too many times people coming in and say, I have an idea, we're going to go for it. Being able to defend hypothesis and validate it in front of the audience that should be influential is one crucial step that doesn't always happen. Actually happens way too seldom. This hypothesis framing concept is not mature in our industry. And we
Mm.
need to do some work to make it happen. Otherwise, all of this is in vain.
Wow, that's super profound. If a contractor's listening to this conversation and they're saying, "Man, I don't even know where to start, but we have to get on this journey." Does it start with people? Like you said, if you don't have the right people in the room.
I think it starts with framing the need. Listen, do we all need to innovate? Probably not. I mean, look at the world around us. Sometimes we are just savvy consumers, and let's not confuse innovation with education. We are very often given tools that are underutilized. We are very often being told to follow the processes and tend to discover that nobody around us following them. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do to start in the space. But then ultimately, when you sort out all these issues regarding the structure and being deliberate, I think this is where it starts finding right people, coupling them with that structure or coupling structure with the right people, and then understand how to provide funding. Innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. Obviously, people want to be paid. Innovation is somewhat very expensive. So being deliberate also which ideas to pursue can help to stay on mission. You don't need to innovate 10 things at once. Pick something that is very dear and near to you. Pick something that will make your business better and start small. I would advise everybody to start small. Nobody wants to start with a 100 people innovation team without a goal. Then the other part is we don't want to be in a business of innovation looking for a problem. We want to be in the business of addressing problems to creativity and innovating and with the right people. So that's also very important to understand what the problems are.
This is so fascinating. We're already using up all your time. I want to have you back on to talk about some of these
Well,
related issues, Tomislav. We have been talking on this episode of Build America with Tomislav Zigo, who is CEO of BEXEL USA. And Tomislav, if there's anywhere you could direct people to that where you talk about those 48 different categories and factors, is that more internal research or is there somewhere people might learn more?
well, I would always encourage people to read Jeffrey Moore's book, Zone to Win. We have taken that concept and developed our own methodology. Obviously, our clients are subjected to being tested, but the nice thing about the process is that allows you to also monitor how you perform and improve over time. So you can say, this is where we were when we started on this journey, maybe it's a digital transformation journey or whatever you want to call it. And then here we are after 6 months, we see some tangible improvements. And this process that we developed is not necessarily only reserved for construction industry. I mean, those are very generic indicators that will tell you whether you have what it takes to be ready. And if somebody wants to learn a bit more about it, they can definitely contact us, and we'll be happy to engage and hopefully help them to understand where they want to be. Again, innovation for the sake of innovation is not a path. Innovation that addresses the real need that is properly structured very often results in transforming the business and people around.
That's awesome. How's a good way for people to get in touch with you?
LinkedIn, BEXELUSA.com, and people know where to find us.
Fantastic. Well, Thomas, it's always such a pleasure learning from you, and I hope that you'll carve out time to be with us again. There's so many topics you are on the forefront of, and I know this one was a winner. Thank you so much for being our guest on Build America.
Gary, thank you for having me and happy to talk to you anytime.
Awesome. I'll take you up on that.
Thank you.